Yeah, I started. That was
Don't
part
forget
of it
to
is
introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
right.
We can,
Seriously,
well, we're going to direct this time.
we'll be in the peanut gallery.
Yes.
Or let me introduce how
Okay.
I know you.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. 1 second. I'll hit record here. Let's
Well, I'll
see.
brag about you.
Record to the cloud. Good day. Um, my name is Orr. I've been doing. Okay. You said you wanted to introduce me.
Well, no, I'm just going to say that you're the best foodie I've ever met, and you travel the world and you bring so much joy and newness, information, like ex mind expanding stuff and beautiful sceneries.
It's just like um, for 4 years, I cooked in person weekly dinner. I hosted. I live in a college town, and I would get local students to cook something from their country, and then we gave it out to the public. It was a weekly free dinner. For 4 years, we averaged 43 people, and then COVID hit. There was a little stuff in between, but we could no longer cook in person. And so it shifted to this online platform of sharing food, sharing culture. And then post COVID, I started going on a tour, visiting the people who were regulars on the cooking show, especially the people in Brazil. And I don't know, I just kept doing it. I am not really super comfortable like doing tons of traveling and visiting a lot of places, but in the last couple of years, I've been doing more and more of it. I just came back from a week of living on a boat in the Amazon and every day doing 1 or 2 excursions into the jungle to visit the indigenous people, or I I got to plant a cacao tree. Like in 5 years or 6 years, I have to schedule to go back there and see if I can pick some cacaos to make some chocolate. And then, yeah, it was an extreme experience. And I just got back a few days ago, and I've slept and slept and slept and slept and still don't feel. I mean, you can kind of see the bags under my eyes that I've caught up because I was so in it. Now, on the boat, there was an awesome crew of 4 ladies that cooked us food and talk. You know, people see my little kitchen here, and the kitchen on the boat was even smaller.
Wow.
So let's see here. I mean, this is the kitchen. I mean, it's got the sink, and there's my stovetop, and then there's the laptop we're recording everything on the shelf right above there. And so on, I don't speak tons of Portuguese, but I asked one of the guides if they would talk to the chef and ask her, they're having to cook all day long to feed I don't know, was it as many as 40 people? It was 2 boats. It was all the guests and then the staff. And they were just having to cook all day long. And I didn't want to bother them. And so I asked, would you be willing to share something? I always ask. Whenever I travel, I try to find some place. When I was in Malaysia last month, I guess it was 2 months ago, I actually took cooking classes. I've never done that before. I felt comfortable, paying a little bit of money to cook in someone's house. I just asked, can someone help me do that? In this last year, it's amazing. I've cooked, well, I did I call it the tour of corn. I cooked in Colombia, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Mexico, different versions of arepas, empanadas, tortillas. It's all based on the same corn masa, just different shapes and different flavors. And my favorite, how many grandmas I got to cook with in this last year.
Oh.
That's my goal, is to not only cook with grandmas, but share their culture so that it doesn't get lost. Anyway, I did the recording on the boat. Of course, on the boat, the internet wasn't phenomenal. And I was just doing it on my phone. And so I want to recreate somewhat what we made. And if you look on the YouTube, now every day we would have in the morning basically fruit juice. They would get fruits and they'd blend it with some water. And here's the thing, they put the sweeteners separate. So you had your artificial sweetener, you had your sativa, and you had your sugar, and you could sweeten it to your desired. Most of the fruits were not very sweet. My favorite two fruits were maracuya, which is passion fruit. And let me see, I always mess up how to pronounce it. Kupasukasu, which doesn't really have an English equivalent, I don't think. Both of them have a little bit of passion fruit, a lot of sourness. And in the US, passion fruits are like lime size. There, I went to the market, they're like bigger than a grapefruit.
Wow.
I guess the hardest thing is when you blend the passion fruit, it has a lot of big black seeds, kind of like watermelon size. You can blend them in, and then you just have to strain it. Anyway, this recipe, Popakazu, let me see if I can pronounce it right here. Crema de Popakazu con chocolate. Now, basically, it's 4 ingredients. It's your fruit. I personally, they said it doesn't have to be frozen, but I thought it'd be a lot easier because you're making a smoothie. That if it was, frozen and then slightly thawed, then you can use the juice of it as well, right? It gives it more, because you mix it all together and then you freeze it again. So if it's already pre-frozen, it'll shorten the freezing time for. And you could call it pudding, you could call it mousse. It was just fruit, condensed milk, and cream. And there, everything comes in like, a pouch. That's how or in a bag. Like if you just buy it from the market and it's fresh, it's just in a little plastic bag. But if you want to, travel, or you also can buy it in like a, kind of like one of these wax boxes, but smaller, just like a cup size. And then if you want to make the chocolate topping, or what she did is she did a layer of the fruit, a layer of the chocolate, a layer of the fruit, and then a layer of chocolate. Now the top layer of chocolate gets so cold, it actually gets like a hard surface. If you use coconut milk, of course, coconut milk solidifies below 80, is it 85 degrees? I just forgot. It solidifies at a lower temperature. So you can make like a chocolate ganache on the top if you use coconut milk and cocoa powder, just cacao powder. And there is no sugar in this. You can add sugar if you need to, but basically the condensed milk was the sweetener. And she basically just put it in a giant food processor / blender in the order of the fruit, the sweetened condensed milk, and then the cream. And you add the cream slowly because you don't want it. You want it as thick as possible. where it's like a really super thick. And so that's the ingredients. I mean, that's the directions. If someone has any questions. Now, of course, I just got back from travel and I haven't had a chance to go shopping. So this is just all stuff I had around, mostly canned stuff. And I was thinking of going shopping, but I was just like, I love when I can use what I have around already. I don't tend to keep fresh milk around because I don't use enough of it. So I tend to keep a lot of, shelf-stable dairy products. This was a can of peaches. I did put it in the freezer overnight and then took it out this morning to slightly thaw it. What do you guys think? Should I do a peach pineapple or should I do just straight peach?
Oh,
I'm
that's
thinking
a hard
straight
choice.
peach.
I think straight
pineapple.
It's springtime right now. Like, peaches are going to be in season any day. Well, in like within the month. Peach season reminds me of spring. I actually have a vest on because, I came from Brazil and came back home and it's cold here. But yeah, I was thinking fresh spring. And so if I follow the recipe, it's basically, and the hardest part I think is getting the condensed milk out of the can. If people have a trick. So that was just a can of peaches that I froze a little bit and then thawed out. But probably when you're doing a small one, you have a heavy duty one, you wouldn't have to thaw it out as much as I did. And then and it's really just like a 1-to-1-to-1. So you have the standard is 1 cup of fruit pulp, 1 cup of condensed milk, and 1 cup of cream. And then for the chocolate part, because you don't want to waste it, it's, they just have like 1 can or 1 cup of the condensed milk, 1 cup of cream, and then just 4 or 5 tablespoons of cocoa powder, to the flavor of your choice. So, all right, comes the hard part. Unless people have tricks to get all the condensed milk out of the can. Now, I grew up really poor, so I tend to not only scrape the can, but then put water in it and slosh it around and try to clean it like any can. I don't know. I have a really hard time not running some water through it so that we don't waste all that goodness. But you guys remember the one time we made condensed milk from milk? How long it took? That was a ridiculous amount of time.
So quick question, your cup of fruit included the juice, or did you just throw the juice in?
No, the juice too. I like to not waste it.
No, I
And
mean,
again,
as far as the measurement, did you do a cup of the fruit?
No, yeah,
and
I mean, in this case, it was, a can of peaches. So
Okay.
I just put all of it, the juice and all. So,
my Vitamixer says not to put in the solids first. I'm supposed to put the liquids in first. So my fruit is rock hard frozen.
oh yeah, don't put that on the bottom then.
Yeah.
Put cream. The only reason she was putting the cream in last is because she said you don't have to use it all.
Okay.
It's how wet is the fruit determines how much of the cream at the end you add.
Ah.
Right. And so, so put in I would say half of the milk or cream, and then the condensed milk, and then the fruit.
So I have not heavy whipping cream. I have, half and half, but I also have whole milk.
Do you have coconut milk?
I have coconut milk, yes.
So coconut milk would be preferable to all those, I think, because it solidifies. You're trying to get this mousse, you know. Well, let me
But
take
that
that
adds
back.
a flavor of coconut, and I'm not sure I want that.
You would only want the coconut milk for the top layer of chocolate because that's what you want solidified. So I take that back.
Okay.
You can use it. Yours will come out at slightly less rich, but I think it'll be just absolutely fine. You know,
But
because she
it's
was
going to
just
be
using
super
straight cream.
thick.
Oh yeah, I mean at the end, you're creating a pudding.
Okay.
So it's like, you know, like a thick mousse / pudding. And, you know, she says put it in the freezer after you put it all together for a minimum of 3 hours to like, and then you serve it where it's, you know, almost frozen. So, all right, what did I put in here? Fruit, condensed milk, and then I'll put in, I also don't have cream, and so I was going to use this oat milk, which is designed to add to coffee, the creamer. So, but again, I'll do a whole cup here, but then not put the whole cup in. It's depending on how thick. And so yeah, the coconut milk is used with the cocoa powder for the top that solidifies, so you have yourself a chocolate nosh on the top. All right, blend it. I mean, without adding any milk or cream, it's pretty liquidy already on mine. So, and that's because the fruit isn't very frozen. So this will take a lot longer to freeze than if I didn't put, you know, if I had put more frozen fruit in it. So. All right, I'm gonna taste it already. Use my super expensive taster can here. But you can see it's like a thick smoothie. It's very interesting. It's like, well, for me, it's too sweet. I grew up not eating much sugar. So super sweet. And then the interesting thing about all these mousses we have every day on the boat was the fruit taste. It's such a, even like here is example, I put peaches. Peaches are a pretty strong flavor. It just has a hint of peach. It was a debate at dinner every night what type of mousse we were having, because it's such a delicate taste in there that it's just barely there. All right. Now you need a nice container. Let me grab a nice container to put it in. Give me a second. Should have been prepared with that one. Give it a. Now, if you did the chocolate separate, you could do like she did and layer it. I think this is too liquidy. I'm going to add some texture. I'm going to add some pineapple to it. That's too liquidy for me. It would take a really long time to freeze. And so, yeah, the trick is to get that and have that be pretty thick. And yeah, one trick is to have your fruit frozen ahead of time, and then it freezes more quickly. Let's see. I'll add a half a can first. Oop.
You might want to strain you might want to next time strain the liquids out of the fruit. So if you use canned peaches, don't use any of their juice. I'm not saying throw the juice away, of course.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I specifically asked, can you use fresh fruit? You know, does it make a difference? And she said, you know, it's better. You want to have as least amount of liquid in it as possible. So, which is hard with maracuya passion fruit because it's mostly liquid. All right, in this case, I'm going to retaste it. I've got a can of peaches and a can of pineapple. And there you go. Now it's more to the thickness consistency.
So I lied. I said I had
oh my goodness,
milk. It's evaporated milk.
So with just the peaches, it was too sweet. Now with the pineapple, it's definitely it has made it taste healthier. If that makes it, it has more of a hint of fruit and less of the milk and cream to give it I don't know, kind of a brighter spring taste. So, well, basically, we made ourselves a quick ice cream that you now put in the freezer for 3 or 4 hours to freeze it. And this is where we can go back and we'll make a cacao powder, and you could pour on the top. And the chocolate ganache, you definitely want to make really thick so it settles on the top. But it doesn't matter if it goes in, because when you go to scoop it, it's going to be together. So now, if you can get, instead of coconut milk, they do have coconut cream. It's, you know, a thicker product. That's even better. So you're trying to get it nice and thick. Now, one trick, you make the coconut chocolate. You can you see the chunks of coconut there? Look at how thick that is. You put this in the fridge for a while so it thickens to more like a pudding, and then you pour it on the top. So you do it separately. That's another trick. So if I go to pour it right now, it'll probably be too liquidy. So here, let me separate a little of the milk, of the water out. So we just have just the more thick cream in it. Maybe that'll help. All right. And then just, oh yeah, I need to put a can of evaporated milk in too. That's your sweetener, basically. And you can just make you know, the chocolate part separate. We once had that, you know, just basically chocolate pudding. If you do put coconut milk in it, though, the coconut milk does harden it. You know, you're not getting like the mousse texture when you use coconut milk. You get more of a, it can be really, really hard, really, really thick. So, but thank you guys for coming and giving me what do you call it? A flashback to being in the Amazon last week. It was very interesting to talking to all the indigenous peoples. What they do is technically the two indigenous tribes we visited, they both lived like 800 to 1,000 kilometers to the north of where we were. They both came, like, boated down for, weeks and weeks and set up like an outpost to educate and to raise money. And so they had, one of them, they all came like 40 years ago because they had someone in their family who needed like medical treatment. And so they keep an outpost where they rotate people from the tribe to come down to get educated in modern. And then the other one was, what do you call it? Like an indigenous educational village where, people come there and see them. They do dance expeditions and cooking expeditions and showing the different traditional ways of making things. I did not manage to be hungry enough to eat a larva, but I did eat ants. Like,
Ants are yummy.
part of that was the larva was still moving, but honestly, if I hadn't just ate a huge breakfast, I probably would have tried it. But I was really afraid that having something wiggling in my mouth would make me upchuck my whole breakfast. So that being said, I have ate larva, but I knew I was going to, so I didn't eat other stuff first. And part of it, I was also already queasy because I ate so much. Every meal was just so good. I ate way too much, and then so I was always already queasy. So, all right. Coconut milk, a can of evaporated milk, and 4 tablespoons of cacao powder. And that's your, give it a little. So here I can show you. Part of it is when you hit it in the blender, the coconut milk, the warmth of the blender will actually warm up the coconut milk so it becomes more liquefied just from doing that. So if you look at it now, it looks kind of, I don't know, whipped up, right? But it's lots of bubbles in it. It's frothy, but if I put it in, I'll put it in a separate container in the fridge to thicken up. And then, well, you can put it in a separate container, or if you don't mind if it's like mixed together, see if I go to pour it, you'll see it just goes in, right? And that's where, if you let this solidify or go in the fridge for a little while, cool down, you can pour it just basically on the top because it'll be a thicker consistency. So I'm trying not to completely mix it so you have 2 distinct tastes. But yeah, the colder it is, the more pudding-esque it is. So if people remember the last time I used the blender, I floated all over the kitchen. So I did a lot better job. All right, that's pretty much it. It just needs to go in the freezer for 3 or 4 hours to thicken, and then you serve it. with, and I definitely like that I added more fruit. That it was for me, it was too sweet. Part of it was using that canned fruit, because, you know, canned fruit, even though they usually will say, let's see, yep, it's got sugar in it. Peaches, water, sugar, citric acid. And so it was too sweet for me using just one can. And so the peaches, the pineapple didn't have sugar in it, so that really brought it down. So when you're using the condensed milk, try to make sure you have a fruit that doesn't have a lot of sugar in it. And that's pretty much it. And quick and easy putting together. But, you know, it takes a long time to freeze it. And again, if you freeze the fruit ahead of time, it shortens the freezing process afterwards. And then you get the juices. The juices are frozen, so it's more of a solid texture instead of a liquid texture. So you don't waste that juice.
So
Any
you
questions?
put the fruit on the bottom, and then do you have to let that freeze for a little bit before you put the chocolate on top?
Not if you put the chocolate in the refrigerator or freezer for a while to thicken up already. You know.
But what keeps it from falling into the liquid bottom?
Oh, you would put chocolate, fruit. I don't know. I guess she just, because she used the frozen fruit, it was thick.
Okay.
It wasn't as liquefied as here. But the chocolate had been in the fridge, and she used frozen fruit. And so it was fruit, chocolate is how she layered it. But you can also just do a whole bunch of fruit and then just put a layer of chocolate on the top. Especially if you use if you're using coconut milk, I would not recommend a layer of chocolate in the middle unless you don't mind that it's, like, you know, hard. So, because if you're using coconut milk, you will get a thin, you know, if you put a thin layer of chocolate in the middle, it will solidify.
Nice.
So you get like this nice soft mousse, and then a layer. You'd probably want that just on the top as a chocolate ganache instead. If you wanted a soft chocolate mousse in the center, don't use coconut milk for the center. And but yeah, it was a very delicate seeming dessert.
Mm.
You know, it came across as like really high quality, frothy, like French dessert. When you can see, it's really simple to make.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So, and then of course, if you just want to blend it up together like that and fill yourself a cup and drink it, it's a smoothie, like a really, really, really rich smoothie.
Sounds kind of nice and light.
We don't think of smoothies as wanting to be super rich, right?
Right.
But if you put more fruit and less dairy, but they did the other way around. It was really, well, it was, I just realized I made the mistake with this recipe. It's not 1 to 1 to 1. It's 1 dairy to 1 fruit. So it'd be, because you're putting 2 cans of fruit, 2 cans of dairy, you put 2 cans of fruit. Now what they do is they just buy, you know, it's 1 fruit. It's just like,
right.
they have a measurement, and it's literally just like one fruit. That's their measurement. So, and you play around with it to your desired sweetness and taste and thickness. Because the original recipe, it was just like, we only need 4 things of cream, and then it was too thick, and so she added another thing of cream to thin it out, right? So it's just play around with it, get it to your desired thickness and flavor, and it comes down to the fruit, how sour, how flavorful the fruit itself is, and then you hold back on that cream at the end to try to make it be as thick as possible before you put it in the freezer. So, all right, now I've got a lot of it. I'm gonna have myself a cup of it just right now. Again, I already, in my taste testing process, I've drank about a cup, but it's just like, but yeah, I've had this a few times in Brazil. They can, the only other unique version is probably you can get like tapioca balls, and you cook them so they're soft, and you add them there. So then you have like basically if you ever had like bubble tea where you're drinking the tea and there's little chewy balls, you can do that. I personally find if I'm eating a mousse and I have like a chewy thing, all of a sudden it annoys me a little bit. So, but that's me. So it's something you can give to the texture, but simple, tasty, and just so delicate, and I don't know. Yeah, just like the highest French dessert, just using 4 ingredients.
Nice, simple.
All right,
Thank you.
Wrap up. Obrigado.
Obrigado.
We got one, but I still have one more to stop the live stream. Thanks for the flashback to Brazil.